When I awoke the following morning, Sato-san was already gone. Outside the window, the rain came down in the rain came down in sheets. Okay, I'm illiterate, it's okay. And so began an even longer day than the last, one that I would remember for the rest of my days. Good morning, Gina. I'm determined to prove your innocence today. I'm sure we can do it.
So where's your friend, then?
Sorry?
You know, her in the fancy dress. Sarto, or however you say it, I don't know.
Oh, Mrs. Sato had to leave early this morning. She was already gone by the time I woke up.
You alright with that, are you? Forget about me if you like, go see her off.
It's fine. It's not as though Mrs. Sato and I won't meet again, one day.
Even so...
But you, Gina, you only get one chance. This trial today is all we have. Good morning, you two. Oh, and you brought the boy? Well, we can't lose now. How are you feeling, Ginny? Did you manage to sleep?
Iris, what are you doing here?
What do you mean? When a friend is in need, we show our support. Isn't that right, Waggy? That's right. Ah, Waggy! Great way to show your support, kitty.
Let him have a nose around. What harm can it do?
Oh, that reminds me. I bought a paper on the way here. Ah, we learned the Reaper's here today. Now, would you like the good news or the bad news? What do you say, Runo, Ginny? Oh, well, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way.
No, always take the good news first. You might not live to hear the bad.
Yes, that question always gives away people's personalities. Let's not go there. Alright then, I'll give you the bad news first. A record amount of rain has fallen this morning and carriages all over London are struggling to move. Huh, the bad news was a weather report? So I hope that Susie made her train to Dover and that the train isn't delayed on its way to the port. Gosh, yes.
Alright then, what's the good news?
Well, the rain is forecast to subside this afternoon, so even if the train is delayed, it should be able to make up time later. Well, that is good news, isn't it? Okay.
I couldn't give a monkeys, really.
If only all good news got cancelled out of the... If only all good news cancelled out the bad. And look, the trial made the headlines. Pawnbroker perishes in pick-purse plunder. See?
How'd you like that? We'll let them say what they want, see if I care.
I can't because you're covering your face. Don't worry, Runo will show everyone the headline is nonsense. I will. And then, in tomorrow's papers, the headlines will be... Discharged diver is dauntless do-gooder. Isn't that right, Runo? Oh, yes, of course. Of course they will. I have absolute faith in you. How was that? I was trying to sound like Susie. Did it work? Did it? It's like she was still here. That got entered into evidence? Good luck then, Runo. I'll do what I can. Obviously, I don't know the law like Susie does, but, of course, we have to have an assistant still. I'll be by your side the whole time, giving you moral support and encouragement. I'm not sure that big thing is as comforting as you think it is. But thank you, Iris. That's very kind of you.
Oh yeah, Iris.
Yes, Ginny?
Well, I was wondering is all about Sholmes. Did they fix him up alright?
Yes, the operation was a great success, but Hurley still hasn't come round yet, as far as you know. I've asked a friend of mine at Scotland Yard to send a telegram as soon as he wakes up. I'm sure Gregson will let us know the moment there's news.
Oh, right.
No Susato-san and no Sholmes. It's all down to me today, to prove that Gina is innocent of this crime. Miss Gina Lestrade, counsel for the defense, the trial is about to begin. Please make your way to the courtroom. It's time, then. Yes, let's go, Gina. Iris. Lead the way, Runo. Poor Gina. She's trying to put on a brave face, but I can tell she's worried and scared. I have to believe in her from start to finish. That's the weapon that will secure our victory. If I learned anything from my great friend, it's that. Oh, well, look who's back. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. This trial shall determine the guilt or innocence of Miss Gina Lestrade. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready. Lord Van Zykes.
My lord.
Remind me, how many years ago was it that you withdrew from public prosecution service?
It was some 5 years ago, my lord.
Yes, and then 2 months ago you resurfaced somewhat unexpectedly, and here you are today. Are there some circumstances of which the court should be made aware of that have led to this erratic behavior? In what one might describe as the former 5 years past, you dealt exclusively in matters concerned with the highest echelons of society and government.
Really?
Yet today you choose to try a simple case of burglary and murder. I must confess I find it a little befuddling, Counsel.
There are 2 types of person I cannot abide. Firstly, those wealthy scoundrels who hide behind a mask of philanthropy to cheat the public at large.
He means Mr. McGilded, who you defended against the Reaper.
Yes, I just about managed to work that out, thank you.
Magnus McGilded, if I'd known what a monster he was, I never would have defended him.
And secondly, even more loathsome, those wily scoundrels who masquerade as allies only to effect total betrayal in the final hour. In other words, the confidence tricksters from those tiny islands in the Far East, the Nipponese.
My man is super racist. He means you now, Runo.
I actually managed to work that out too, thank you, Iris.
Total betrayal? What are you talking about?
That torrid look of hatred in Lord Van Zyk's eyes.
Was that directed solely at me, or was he talking about all Japanese people? An alarmingly scathing explanation, Lord Van Zykes. Still, the judiciary welcomes the return of the so-called Reaper of the Bailey, feared by all London's malefactors.
Your lordship is too kind.
Now, jurors, the 6 of you have been selected at random to represent the will of people. Are you ready to hear... Wait. Bro. Dude. It's the Russian guy. It's the Russian criminal. He's got a little mouse with enormous ears. Former lieutenant in the British Army here. Don't know you, don't you know? Chaps like me were born ready. Clean crockery, clean cutlery, and a clean conscience. His lordship's motto is very appropriate here. Everything will be stereoscopic in the future. Absolutely, absolutely everything, and I'm ready for it. I don't understand it. I can't have left it in there. It's not possible. But could I have? Women indispensable in society. Stop. Female-centric future awaits. Stop.
Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. This is not a Russian accent, even a little bit. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please.
Is something wrong, Runo? Oh, not exactly. It's just... I'm fairly sure I recognize these jurors. Almost all of them, in fact. Really? Funny coincidences like that do happen, don't they? But it is quite strange. The jurors are chosen at random from London's 6 million inhabitants. So I've been led to believe, but something tells me I'm being duped. Very well. Now, Lord Van Zykes, the court calls upon the prosecution to introduce the facts of the case.
As you wish, my lord. Allow me to begin with a word of warning to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. In short, there has never been a more self-evident case of cold-blooded murder.
Funny how you say that every time.
The victim, Mr. Pop Windybank, proprietor of a pawn shop on Baker Street, was shot from behind and died instantly. The prosecution presents this photographic print of the crime scene. As the court will observe, there is a single bullet wound just below the gentleman's left shoulder. The evidence suggests that the bullet pierced the man's heart, resulting in near-instant death. Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory.
And what's that supposed to tell us? It means the person who shot him was above the person that shot him.
It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Someone like the accused, you might say.
Oh!
The prosecution wishes to present the autopsy report and crime scene photograph as evidence, my lord.
Indeed, the court accepts. Hand them to the bailiff, please.
I now ask the court to turn its attention to this plan of the establishment where the incident occurred. The proprietor was found in the storeroom where he kept articles pawned to him. A windowless room with a single point of entry, a door to the main shop that was found locked. In this sealed chamber, there were only 2 persons present. The victim, Mr. Windybank, and the accused. It may further interest the court to know that when the accused was discovered at the scene, she had in her hand the gun used to fire the fatal bullet.
Well, that's that then, isn't it? Nothing more to say. Isn't that grubby little girl? She's one of those filthy drabs. Oh, well, it was a matter of time before she got blood. What are the jurors waiting for? Guilty as hell. We can't jump to conclusions here. We mustn't assume her guilt because of what she had to do to survive.
My learned Nipponese friend. It is you who mustn't jump to conclusions. The prosecution has barely begun presenting its case. Conveniently, this appalling act of murder did not go unobserved. There were witnesses.
Good gracious!
After their testimony, this girl's nature will be exposed. Pitiful pickpurse or cold-hearted killer. Here's to establishing the truth.
The court will take the floor pan and firearm into evidence. Hand them to the bailiff, please.
At once, my lord.
I wish to examine the gun. This isn't good, no lie, but it never is it? Let's have a gander. This is Windybank's gun. The cylinder is completely empty. Mr. Windybank always used to keep his gun to hand on his shop counter. Yes, but only ever a single bullet loaded, I understand. That's right, to keep all the pawned articles that were in his care safe. But his one bullet was fired and the poor man lost his life. Was he protecting his shop, I wonder, trying to keep the articles safe? Nothing else to look at here? Look down the barrel? By the way, never look down the barrel of a gun. No, okay. Alright, carry on, Zykes. I feel like the mood in here has turned very gloomy all of a sudden, Runo. I think that's because it has. Oh fuck, he's entering his final form at the start. Let us begin. Bring forth the witnesses to the foul murder of Mr. Pop Windybank on the 16th of April of this year. What the fuck are you two? Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Dude. My man's face is mesmerizing. Name's Nash Skulkin. Occupation is, baddie. Professional baddie. Name's Ringo Skulkin. Occupation's, same as him.
Tobias Gregson, Scotland Yard Inspector.
That's right. We're what they call the Three Skulkin Brothers.
Tobias, you're meant to be in position.
What are you looking at me like that for? Don't lump me in with you lot. Cool, blimey, that's cold. Don't you know what we're doing? Don't you know what we're going for? It's our older bruv. Lost contact with him, we have. We were scouring every shady corner of the capital. And then last night, we came across you, the very spit of the bloke. Ain't that right, Ringo? He is. Nash, he is. The very spit of him. So we decided what we was gonna do. We was gonna call ya Big Bruv Skulky. It's Big Bruv Sulky. Come on, leave it out, you two.
Sulky Sulkin. Sulky Skulkin. And that's before he's run out of chips.
Well then, Inspector Sulky Gregson.
Begging your pardon, my lord, but the name's Tobias.
What I would like to know, Inspector, is what you are doing in the witness stand.
The Skulkin brothers are currently under arrest, my lord, on suspicion of theft.
Thieves, are they, these three?
No, my lord, begging your pardon, but please don't lump me in with this lot. 2 nights ago, the 2 brothers illegally entered an establishment with intent to burgle. And in the course of their nefarious activities, they became embroiled in a far more sinister crime.
By Jove, you mean to say, what an extraordinary coincidence.
Indeed, my lord. While attempting to burglarize the pawnbrokery, they witnessed its proprietor's murder.
Yo, his legs blended in with the floor. I thought the short guy was like Rayman legs.
The various trespasses of these brothers is not the subject of today's proceedings, though they will naturally face trial in the very near future. With your lordship's permission, I'd like to remain in the stand to keep these gents on the straight and narrow.
Of course, Inspector. Skeptical as I am about the caliber of these witnesses, I will permit them to take the stand.
Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you will now testify before the court. Describe the events of the night in question and what exactly you saw.
Happy to. 'Cause a skulkin's never skulkin'. Sulky, get in position. Get out of it. We was walking down Baker Street in the small hours, and the gaff's door was ajar, you see. It was like some kind of sign, begging for us to go in, it was. And as we got inside, called blimey lummy, we heard a gunshot from the back room. We went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside. We never done nothing, Governor. We never took nothing. We just left after that, nice and quiet.
A terrible coincidence, it would seem. At the precise moment these miscreants entered the property, an even more sinister crime was afoot. The witness's testimony is consistent with the crime scene in every detail. The door providing access to the storeroom was indeed locked from the inside, and within, only the victim and the accused were found.
I must say, it does appear to be an overwhelmingly simple case. Still, the defense may cross-examine the witnesses now, of course. Counsel, if you please. Counsel?
Yes.
What's the matter, Runa?
Sorry, I was just stunned into silence for a minute by the blatant lies being told by that pair in the stand. I know it's all nonsense, because I saw it with my own eyes. I'll just have to expose their testimony for the pack of lies it is.
Yeah.
So we'll press all the way down, as is tradition.
The front door of Wendy Banks was ajar, you say. What time of night was this? Must have been about 1, right, Ringo?
Yeah, I say so. Right, Sulky? How would I know? The place would have been shut at 1 in the morning, just like every other shop in town.
Well, it was pitch black inside, it's true. Ain't that right, Ringo?
I'm not so sure, Nash. I seem to remember a little light burning inside. What about you, Sulky, me old mucker?
Leave me alone.
There definitely was a small lamp burning inside. That's what alerted us to the situation in the first place.
And when these gentlemen ventured into the open establishment, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, had already the muzzle of her gun trained on the unfortunate victim.
That is pure conjecture.
Huh. Perhaps, but it changes nothing. These brothers inadvertently wandered into the middle of a cold-blooded murder, simply because they found the door of the victim's establishment open and ventured inside.
Right, that's what happened. It was like some kind of sign, begging for us to go in. It was.
What are you trying to suggest? That you had to go in?
Well, God moves in mysterious ways, they say, don't they, Ringo? They do, Nash, they do. Must have been some sort of providence, I reckon.
God's will often presents itself as the whims of thieves, does it?
It would, no whim, I'm dead sure of that. It would, Nash, it would, like we said at the time. You don't just find open doors in the middle of the night like that. Nah, there's no two ways about it. It was a sign that our long-lost brother was inside.
They're not very good liars, are they?
Well, you can't deny it. It led us to a bloke who just looks just like our bruv.
I said, cut it out.
Those chips are getting a chomping today.
But once we got inside, caught blimey lummy, we heard a gunshot from the back room.
A gunshot? Just the one? Are you sure?
Yep, just the one, Governor. I swear to that. It was, Nash, it was. Ain't that right, bruv?
The firearm used belonged to the victim himself.
Yes, Mr. Windybank always used to leave his gun lying around on the counter. Right, I remember.
When we examined it, the revolver was completely out of rounds.
That makes sense. Mr. Windybank used to say he only ever kept a single bullet loaded. That's true, I remember him saying that as well.
So we can say with considerable certainty that only a single round was discharged.
Yes, my lord, we can. And I should remind the court that the firearm in question was discovered in the hand of the accused.
Wonderful. Well, we know there was a second shot, though.
We went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside.
Do you mean the door between the main shop and the storeroom?
If my learned friend is having difficulty grasping the situation, perhaps a drawing would help. Excluding the shop's entrance from the street, there is only one other door, that of the storeroom.
Of course, there was only a little old oil lamp burning, not much to see by. And the door was hidden behind a curtain and all.
That's right. When we arrived, the door was mostly obscured by the curtain. Tell me, why exactly did you try to open that door?
Eh?
Any normal petty thief would run at the sound of a gunshot, I should think.
Oh, well, your turn to rabbit, Ringo. Well, Nash, yeah, I suppose you'd have to say we ain't normal, eh?
Broadly speaking, humans respond in one of two ways on hearing a gunshot or scream. The timid flee, gripped by fear, while the courageous investigate to see if they might help. These gentlemen are of the latter inclination. My learned Nipponese friend, it would seem, is of the former.
Alright, somehow I just proved that I was a coward.
Thank you, counsels. So I believe we all understand the door was locked. Proceed, witnesses. We never done nothing, Governor. We never took nothing. We left after that, nice and quiet.
I'm impressed before I present anything, because you never know. You didn't do or take anything. Is that your story?
Well, it was bedlam, sir, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out. Pull me dukes out, me Lucy lockets.
What the fuck? So with no time to take your hands out of your pockets, you just left, nice and quietly?
That's right, Governor. Nothing we ate more than violence. Peace-loving nibblers, we are, not bludgeoners. We are, Nash, we are. Never even pulled me dukes out, me Lucy lockets.
So you'd clearly like us to believe.
Come again.
As you fled from the pawnbrokers that night, did you not run into anyone else? And did you not fire a gun at that person?
Saints alive, they fired a gun? Blimey, Governor. You ain't telling us it was you in the doorway?
It was.
Why the bleeding Nora? Didn't you mention that before?
You were armed with a gun. As you fled the scene, you fired that gun at London's greatest detective, Herlock Sholmes. They shot the Sholmes? I did hear that, actually. There was a rumor he'd been rushed to hospital. The great Sholmes? That's beyond the pale. On the night in question, this pair were arrested by the police within minutes of their discovery at the crime scene. Their suspicious countenance rapidly gave them away. And when searched, a firearm was indeed found in their possession. Furthermore, the barrel shows signs of having been fired from a shot being fired from it. The prosecution invites his lordship to examine the firearm recovered from these brothers.
Yes, indeed. Remnants of gunpowder around the muzzle, as you say, counsel. The court will hold this weapon as evidence.
I wish to examine this gun also. Now, my learned Nipponese friend. First... nothing outwardly obvious. So, there's ammunition still loaded in 5 of this revolver cylinders. Yes, which tells us that only a single shot has been fired from it. Exactly. The bullet that hit Hurley, in fact, isn't it? Yes, it happened almost as soon as we'd walked in through Windy Bank's door. Definitely don't look down the barrel of the gun when it's loaded. Nothing else. Okay. Now, my learned Nipponese friend. Yes? Here's to you successfully presenting the evidence. For yes, there are the telltale signs of spent powder on this gun and a single bullet missing from the cylinder. But the prosecution demands evidence that it was fired at the scene of the crime under scrutiny. I mean, do you not see the fucking bullet in the bullet hole in the wall? I don't need evidence, because I was there! However, the rest of us in this courtroom were not. If the defense fails to provide evidence in support of this rash claim, we shall have no choice but to toast to your incompetence and move on. I mean, we have this. It's really not much of an ask. Let's see, which part do we present for this? Probably the blood samples portfolio, right? Yeah, because we didn't, like, log the calendar itself, did we? No, present.
Take that!
The evidence is in this portfolio.
What on earth have you there, counsel?
During the course of our investigations, we discovered a number of bloodstains. Not trusting the police to do their job they're trained to do. How arrogantly Nipponese of you. Well, anyway, we analyzed all the blood samples we found and recorded the results in this portfolio.
And you claim to have evidence the court is demanding therein?
Yes, my lord.
No more delaying. Present the pertinent evidence.
Well, yeah, It's, you know, this one right here, as it would happen.
What is that? Explain.
It's a photographic print taken at Windy Bank's pawnbrokery on the day of the incident.
From the scene of the crime, is it? Is that a bullet hole? And if my eyes do not deceive me, it appears the bullet is still lodged there.
Yes, as your lordship noticed. The bullet pierced Mr. Windybank's calendar. The date shown being the 16th of April, the very day of the pawnbroker's death. The incident occurred at 1 hour after midnight, but this indicates that a separate shot had been fired sometime after the calendar had been set. That's right, and while it isn't irrefutable, the defense believes that this is credible evidence the witnesses did fire a round from their gun in the pawnbroker's that night.
Yeah. Order! How does the prosecution stand, Lord Van Zykes?
If that is the direction my learned friend wishes to take, the prosecution has no objection. What? But you'll forgive me for flinging my hallowed chalice aside in disgust at the repugnancy it exposes. Yes, on the night in question, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery illegally. And like the bold baddies they claim to be, opened fire on the new arrivals before fleeing back onto the street.
Take it easy there, Governor. You're gonna land us in the soup. We had a deal. You weren't gonna get into them details. Tell him, Sulky. Set the bloke straight.
I have nothing to add.
So he knew, did he? Van Zykes knew their testimony would almost certainly expose the extent of their crimes.
It would seem now that I owe my learned Nipponese friend a word of gratitude.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that you have helpfully confirmed an important fact.
To what fact do you refer, Lord Van Zykes?
As has been established at the point of their arrest, a single shot had been fired from the brother's gun. However, if that shot found its target in Mr. Sholmes, then clearly these witnesses cannot be accused of the fatal shooting of the proprietor and victim.
Yeah, this is true. I did see this coming, but you know, it's not like we get multiple choices.
In other words, these two men have no material connection to the murder of Mr. Windybank at all. So that's it.
Nice one.
That's it. We didn't have anything to do with it. We didn't, Nash. We didn't. That's what I reckon.
Your crimes include unlawful entry, intent to steal, perjury, and let us not forget, attempted murder.
Quite a catalogue, eh, fellas?
We're in for it now, bruv.
Now then, let us take a moment to consider the aforementioned great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. It would seem the man patronized the pawnbrokers in question somewhat regularly.
Where's he going with this?
Mr. Sholmes appears to take pleasure in tinkering with eccentric machinery.
Eccentric? Says who? Not me. Don't give me that look.
He installed a pair of machines like this one in the victim's shop.
Oh, that's one of Hurley's red-handed recorders.
What is that, Counsel? It has the appearance of a photographic contraption.
As your lordship has surmised, it is indeed a camera attached to a small timing device.
Every half hour, it automatically photographs the interior of the establishment. The idea being that if a thief were to break into the shop, he would get caught red-handed.
The prosecution has obtained the photographs taken by the device on the night in question. As the court will observe, copious identical prints are produced in quite desultory fashion.
Rather prodigal, I feel. Oh, what's wrong with me?
In fact, there are 2 such devices in the victim's shop, my lord. If I may refer the court to the plan of the premises, their respective positions are here and here.
You say these cameras produce a print every half hour. I'm afraid I fail to see how that would help if the anticipated thief conducted his activity in one of the many 30-minute intervals.
One can only pray that the would-be criminal lingers, my lord. On the night in question, the witnesses currently in the stand were not caught on camera.
Yeah, that's a bit of friar tuck, ain't it, bruv? Lady Lux loves a skulking. Witnesses, at what time did your trespassing begin? Must have been just after 1, right, bruv? Must have been, Nash, must have been. Yeah, just gone 1.
In which case, minutes before the brothers entered the establishment, what scene might we expect to see within the shop? Let us examine the evidence.
Good lord! It's the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
That's a pretty damning photo, to be sure. As the court can clearly see, the accused is pictured, gun in hand, facing the victim over the shop counter, no doubt coercing the proprietor to open the door to his storeroom.
Quite! One can only too easily imagine the events that unfolded. The court will take this photographic print as evidence, counsel.
Ugh. I don't believe it. Ginny, is there anything hiding in this photograph? It's not really looking like it. This cat picture's here. That might end up being important. But otherwise, we haven't got... The light's not on. Yeah, the light's not on. But it should have been on because that's what drew them into the shop. Or so they say. I don't believe it, Ginny. In short, the accused is the only person who could possibly have killed Mr. Windybank. I say, my lord.
Wonder if I might put a word in at this point. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Take a volley bullet to the knee in the Battle of Maywand, 1880, don't you know? Decorated for it and all that, but forced to retire from service, sadly. Of course, a medal can never outshine the exploit of chaps like us on the battlefield. Yes, Mr. Foreman, and what exactly is your point? Carried on the battle after retirement, you see. The battle of daily life, if you like. And here I am now, leading this small squadron, 6 men, all good and true. And we'll go down together, you mark my words, one for all and all for one.
The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached agreement, have they? Is that what we are to understand?
Well, Mr. Foreman, is that correct?
In a manner of speaking, yes. This is the Gary Squadron's position, sir. What? No, it's to status report for the court men, on the double. His lordship insists on promptitude at all times, and that goes for making decisions, too.
I think you'll find the truth is clear as day now. I could reach out and touch it. I wouldn't have left it in there. I just wouldn't. But in all honesty, I can't actually remember.
Situation clear. Stop. No room for doubt. Stop. Truth now. Undeniable. Stop. I am really sorry for brothers. They are unlucky.
Very well. I call upon each of the jury to state his or her meaning. Announce your considered verdicts.
Guilty.
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 But what does the mouse think?
It does indeed appear that the jury is unanimous.
That photograph, it must be the definitive evidence that Gregson mentioned. But Ginny didn't shoot him. No, of course not. My lord, the defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination.
Very well, the court grants permission.
So, you refuse to admit defeat again. How unsurprising.
We shall proceed immediately. Mr. Foreman, are all members of the jury ready?
Abso-bolly-lutely, sir. Always ready for action, my chaps.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
Judicial Findings. All the evidence clearly points the finger of guilt at the young pickpocketeen. As a housemaid, I should like to see all filthy eyesores promptly and rigorously eliminated.
I think you'll find that if you look at that photograph in stereo, the truth will just pop out.
If I've left it in there, I should think there'll be repercussions by now.
Mind made up. Stop. Global radio transmission of verdict to follow. Stop.
In motherland, we say never judge by clothes, judge by head. I am convinced brothers are innocent.
The circumstances of the crime and evidence do indeed implicate the defendant rather conclusively.
The storeroom, locked from the inside, in which the victim and the accused were discovered alone, and in the accused's hand the fatal revolver, the firing of which was heard by these witnesses.
Not to mention this print.
Take it from a chap who has seen action on the battlefield. That girl's on the verge of pulling the bolly trigger. Thanks a lot, Mr. Sholmes. Oh dear, Hurley's cameras were supposed to help, not hinder.
I'm afraid I think you have an uphill struggle ahead of you.
But Gina didn't shoot Windybank. Which means there's more to this situation that we've yet to see. Agreed.
You have the floor, counsel.
So I'm going to press the old man first. You. What exactly have you been muttering about all this time, sir? You keep talking about having left something somewhere or something like that.
Oh, so sorry. As you can probably tell, I'm a surgeon.
A surgeon? That totally passed me by.
Of course, people conducting surgery in this country aren't considered to be doctors. Oh, no. Even though me and my kind are at the forefront of medical science, the real brains in the field.
So what is it that you think you've left behind?
Oh, well, that's a little embarrassing, to be honest. You see, I was operating on someone yesterday. Standard thing, went through the abdomen. But when I'd finished the procedure, I couldn't find my scalpel anywhere.
What? Did he? Surely not.
Exactly! Surely not, you say to yourself, don't you? Worrying, isn't it? That's what's been troubling me this whole time. Could I really have left my scalpel inside the fella's belly? No, of course I couldn't. So there you have it. Like I said, a little embarrassing, really.
That's one way of putting it. The other is manslaughter.
That's exactly my concern. And seeing as this case appears to be all but sewn up, I'll need to focus on trying to remember exactly where I've sewn up, everything I've sewn up elsewhere. Now, I'm sure I made it. Sure, everything was back as it should be. Well, as sure as you can without being sure.
I'm sure you need to be more sure. Alright, that didn't help. We're just gonna go in order now.
Hold it!
You're Mr. Natsume's landlord, Mr. Gary, aren't you? We really must stop meeting like this. Oh, you're that lawyer chap. Well, there's a tale up for the books. Yes, rather a turbulent time we had back then. Some extraordinary events took place at your house, that's for sure. Luckily, Mr. Sholmes and I were able to get to the bottom of it all. I think we did rather a lot for you, didn't we? I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be suggesting that therefore you should change your leaning to not guilty or anything. Can't be denied, I suppose. The curse of the Gary's house was the talk of the town after that business. Lodgers moved out, and I couldn't get a bally soul to take up the tenancy. Oh. Haven't had the heart to break the news to Joni yet. Bad enough that the old girl's clapped up. Yes, can't be denied. You did rather do a lot. But not for us, that's for dashed certain. I suppose not. Course. There can be no suggestion of that being the reason I'm leaning towards guilty here, obviously. Obviously, but honestly, I really wish he'd just pay attention to the trial and list juror number 2.
Hold it!
Polishing the bench, I see. Again. A maid's work is never done, not a blemish must remain. What exactly do you mean by filthy eyesores? On my way to market for his lordship, I have to pass through the East End. The place is full of beggars, pick-pursers, and crossmen, the scum of the earth. A little harsh, perhaps. Let me be plain. If it were up to me, all those back slums would be made spick and span or eradicated. At least we have people like the great detective working to achieve these important goals. You're referring to Herlock Sholmes? That's right. I like to keep abreast of his exploits by reading Manst magazines in between my duties. He does wonders cleaning up London streets. In my opinion, he should be declared an honorary maid of the capital. Mr. Sholmes, a maid? It's really quite unforgivable. Gutter scum, having the audacity to shoot our very great detective. Minor detail, it was the 2 brothers in the stand who shot Sholmes, not the defendant. A minor detail indeed. They're all gutter scum as far as I'm concerned. Well, it might just be an idea to get our facts straight. Yes, all right, I shall amend my statement. Those brothers are the scum of the earth. They should swing for shooting the great detective. Alright, so we're gonna put you against him.
Objection!
Those 2 statements contradict each other. Good lord, counsel, explain yourself. Oh, my statement, contradictory? C-O-N. Juror number 6, you've got the wrong end of the stick. I do not have stick, I have mouse. As juror number 2 said earlier, when the Skulkin brothers fled the scene on the night in question, they fired a shot from their revolver. Yes, they shot poor Mr. Sholmes in the abdomen, I understand. Surely you're not going to tell the court now that you didn't hear. Abdomen. A, B, D. Sir? Sorry, my English is still learning. You are telling the court you didn't hear? Forgive me, I did not hear. Ugh. Ah, here is word. Abdomen. Part of person's body containing stomach and other vital organs. Is this what you mean? You should say in plain English. I am Russian, not native speaker. Who thought it was a good idea to let him be on the jury? So, you are telling me these brothers who look like criminals were lying? They said before we should have done nothing. We never done nothing. But truth is, they shot detective. Da, this is double negative. Yes, that's exactly right. Lying is wrong, especially when lying is said by person who look like criminal. Coming from you, that seems surprisingly prejudiced. This means when they said we never took nothing, maybe it was also big fat lie. Is this true? Well, according to the police report, no stolen goods were found. Enough! I trust no one now, not even Mousy. It's not the mouse's fault, though. I must see with my own eyes. I must investigate crime scene myself. I'm afraid that won't be possible. Yes, it is, Runa. Easily. Sorry. With the prints from Hurley's red-handed recorder. Ah, if you compare prints to the picture Ginny and the next print from half an hour later, you'll be able to see straight away if anything was taken or not. Cooey, Mr. Prosecutor. Tut-tut. Calling on the prosecution in the middle of the summation examination of all times. The print showing the accused threatening the victim after she broke into the shop is this one. Following this, the victim and the accused moved into the storeroom. Meanwhile, the Skulkin brothers entered the shop and summarily heard the fatal gunshot. Sadly, none of these events were captured on film. This is the print produced by the camera half an hour later, after the brothers' flight. So this was taken after Hurley was shot then, as far as I can tell. Nothing has been taken. That does seem to be the case. I can't notice anything that's obviously missing. I would like to compare those two photos. So the brothers who look like criminals told only one lie. They shot man, but they stole nothing. It would seem so, yes. Good. No, not good. You were right. I did not understand the situation. Now I know brothers have lied. I think it is very important to continue with trial. Mousy agrees. Yay! Well done. The balance is shifting. It's a start, I suppose, but there must be more to expose what these jurors are saying that I can use to expose the truth. If I can do that, we might turn the situation. Thank you, counsel. Continue. And kindly hand that new photographic print to the bailiff. Alright, delightful. Let's have a gander. Oops. So, this one. Fuck, I have to go out to actually change to the next one, though, don't I? Alright, we're gonna take it all in. Wait. No. It's just... No, it is... I can see things shifting on it. So, there's all of this. Wait. Bro! The hatch isn't there in this picture. There was no latch on the door. Oh my god. There was no thing on the door. There was no flap. She must have used Iris's fucking cat door maker. Yo. Okay. Holy shit. Mind made up. Okay, let's press you. God damn. Sorry, radio transmission, what do you mean? Are you from the Far East? Stop. Yes, from the Empire of Japan. All communication with Far Eastern nations used to take place by mail. Royal Mail steamers take more than a month to complete the journey. Ah, but now we have the electric telegram, so we can send messages using electrical signals. Thousands of miles of cable have been laid along the ocean beds connecting the entire world. Thousands of miles of cables on the ocean bed? It makes my head hurt just thinking about it. You are well informed, young lady. Cables will soon become a thing, but cables will soon become a thing of the past. Stop. And just when I was starting to catch up. Radio transmission is the future. Stop. Message carried over airways to the four corners of the globe. Stop. Excitement growing. Stop. Atmosphere electric. Stop. Right. Era of wireless telegraphy. Stop. Driving technological revolution. Stop. And people say inventions like the stereoscope at the height of technology. What utter piffle. I can't understand. I really can't. They are just silly toys. Oh, he's not happy, even remotely. Juror number 3. Sorry to interrupt when you're obviously fuming, but... What? Do you perhaps have something to say about Juror 5's remark, as if I couldn't guess?
Oh, you bet I do. Say that again. Go on, I dare you.
Goodness, are you talking to me? I think he might be, yes.
You think stereoscopes are just toys, do you, huh?
Absolutely, I mean really. A machine to view photographs in 3 dimensions. Why on earth would you not just use your eyes to look at the world around you? It's all 3-dimensional. What a great way to appease the man. No, I'm sorry, stereoscopes are of no practical use at all.
You just don't know.
Pardon?
I think you'll find that viewing a photograph through a stereoscope can unlock all sorts of possibilities. I'm obviously going to have to demonstrate.
What sort of possibilities?
Well, take a crime scene, for example. If you have a pair of photographs from a crime scene that you could view through a stereoscope, it could reveal hidden clues you'd never noticed before.
Have you got any, Runo? Any prints? Absolutely. How about this print here?
Take that!
Alright then, Juror 3. Are you saying that you can do this with any 2 suitable photographic prints?
Of course I am.
Very well then, I'd like you to demonstrate. I'd be delighted to. Give me one more print and I'll amaze you all.
Take that!
Alright, these two I've already done this the slightly harder way, so...
Yes, I see. Tell me, Mr. Lawyer. Do you know how stereographic images work? Do you understand the principle?
Well, I think so. The left and right eye images need to be the same, only with a slight shift in position of some objects. Then when your brain merges the two images together inside your head, it notices the shift as if it were depth.
Yes, exactly.
It's that small shift that makes certain objects appear in two pictures that's really important. So what exactly if you use two photographs that are exactly the same, then?
No, obviously that wouldn't work at all. Not for seeing the scene three-dimensionally, anyway.
But you'd see if anything changes. Oh! Of course! Now I see it!
Arthur, the girl has discovered the secret.
I have! Can you uncross your eyes before you tell me? Have another look at these two pictures from Hurley's camera, Bruno. Go on. Can you see that there's a really obvious difference between them? Oh, there is. There are two people in the first and no people in the second. Very good, very good. You can see that straight away. But now, try looking at the picture in 3 dimensions. Alright. You have to cross your eyes. Let's see if crossing my... Wait. Well, did you see it? I saw it. Ah! What's going on with these two pictures? Some of this things on the counter sort of jump out at you. That's not the thing I noticed. Everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Let me see. That's the other amazing power of stereoscopes. Amazing power. Is someone going to explain this? Black magic, eh? Why the deuce do some of these things on the counter seem to jump out at you like that,
I think you'll find that if you consider the basic principle of the stereoscope, you'll answer your own question.
Basic principles of the stereoscope?
As I said before, if you try to look at two identical pictures using a stereoscope, it won't work. The slight shift in the positions that make certain objects lets you see the pictures three-dimensionally.
In other words, even though at first glance it seems the objects on the counter haven't moved between the two pictures, this shows they have actually. That there's something way more pressing here for me. This shows that actually there must have been a slight shift in their positions. Yes, there must have been.
Now hold fire there, sir. Got a reasonable grasp of this whole cross-eyed business now, I'd say. But why the devil does this shift between the two prints exist in the first place? Well, what's the answer, fellow? Come on, you cross-eyed monster.
What? Me? I haven't the first idea. You know, Runo, it's quite simple. It is. Just think it through step by step. The first photograph was taken at 1 a.m. Then, 30 minutes later, the second photograph was taken. But the positions on some items on the counter appear to have shifted in the interim. So that means that sometime in that interval, someone must have tampered with the things on the counter. Zookers!
Someone tampered?
New information. Stop. Not mentioned in testimony so far. Stop. Yes. We've had to go around in circles a little here, it seems, but I'm starting to see what I should be aiming at in this examination now. Ladies and gentlemen, the question now is clear. We know the items on the countertop were moved, but by whom? Are you suggesting you might know? Of course. I can tell you right now the person who is responsible for the almost imperceptible shift on the counters is, one of the thieves. But, does it matter which one I say? It was the witnesses currently in the stand, the Skulkin brothers.
Wait. Does this not agree with what brothers said in testimony before? They said they did not even have time to pull dukes from Lucy Lockets. My phrase book says dukes is meaning hands and Lucy Lockets is meaning pockets. But is this Another lie. Is this what you are saying?
Yes, I'm afraid so. Now hold on there a minute, you can't be sure of that. I quite agree. The accused is a common pick purse after all. It's perfectly possible that she went through the things on the desk to see what she might steal. I think that's unlikely.
And why, exactly?
As you can see from this photographic print, the defendant was pointing a gun at the victim. It would seem, as my learned friend indicated, that she was coercing Mr. Windybank to open the storeroom door. In other words, Miss Lestrade's interest lay within the storeroom, not in the main shop, giving her no reason to touch anything in the counter. All of which points to one thing. The Skulkin brothers have admitted key facts in their testimony. But the accused is a pick-purse, common gutter trash. Why look any further for the wrongdoer? Because the Skulkin brothers are thieves, madam. No better, in fact, worse than a pick-purse. I believe that these brothers were looking for something on the victim's counter that night. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you would condemn the defendant on the grounds she's a pickpocket, would it not at least be right and proper to thoroughly scrutinize testimony given against her by two thieves?
Well said. I, for one, would like to hear more from that shady pair.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see it all now? I think you'll find stereoscopes aren't playthings. You'll see their extraordinary potential firsthand.
But we haven't pointed out the hatch that appeared in the door yet. I want to talk about that so much more. Wholeheartedly agree. Stop. Must purchase after trial. Stop. Will return home via Regent Street. Stop.
Well, it would seem the trial has yet to run its course. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have declared their inclination via the mighty scales of justice. I hereby call this summation examination to conclusion with the balance altered in the defendant's favored. 2 lean to guilty, 4 lean to not. Accordingly, the jury is without consensus, and I order this trial to continue.
Well done. Oh, by the way. What? You should hold on to this, Bruno. You never know when it might come in useful. Twice in one trial would be unusual. Oh, it will. It sure will, though.
Lord Van Zykes, you will instruct the witnesses that the court demands additional testimony.
I'm sure it won't spoil the bouquet to do so, my lord.
I've won myself another chance to probe that pair about their activities. And I won't stop probing until I've proven that Gina is innocent. Damn. Alright, these are some short segments. But it is a very long case, I suppose, so far.